Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast, a show created to be your go-to source for straightforward retirement advice. Best of all, it is presented in a language that you can understand. Here's your host, certified financial planner, Greg Gonzalez.
Hey, welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm Greg Gonzalez. Thanks for joining me today. I hope everybody out there has had a wonderful 2025 and is looking forward to a bigger and better year in 2026. We are in the process of launching our 2026 market outlook. By the time the next podcast episode launches, we'll have that ready, updated on our website to share with you. But since I am recording this podcast, and this is the last podcast of 2025, I wanted to bring you something special. This is going to be a relaunch. It's going to be a remastered episode. The most popular, most downloaded episode we've ever done in the history of Retirement Made Easy, which, by the way, we started Retirement Made Easy back in 2020. So this is going back 5 years. The most downloaded episode we've ever done was episode number 180, Retirement Withdrawals, How to Make Your Money Last. So that's the episode you're going to hear today. And then in addition to that, we took it a step further. On the Retirement Made Easy YouTube channel, we came out with a video that's called The Best Withdrawal Strategy. Where should I pull funds from first? And then an additional video that we did that was called How Long Will My Money Last? It's a case study. And between the two of these have over 10,000 downloads. So those YouTube videos will go hand in hand with today's episode. And again, the links to those videos will be in the show notes. So all you have to do is click the link and you can enjoy the videos as well. And one last thing, like I said, our website is retirestrongfa.com. You can click on the resources tab. You can download all of our resources like our Social Security guide. Soon to be our 2026 market outlook is going to be launched here shortly within the next week or so. We have our retirement secret sauce and our retirement budgeting tool. Those seem to be the most popular resources that people will download. So check those out. Again, retirestrongfa.com. And if you're one of those people that's interviewing fiduciary retirement planners like we talk about on this podcast, hey, our team is available. We'd love to talk to you. There's a form on the website. Just click Get Started, fill in your information, and we'll get in contact with you that way, because all you're trying to do is see who's going to be a good fit for you. With that said, let's jump into today's episode, Retirement Withdrawals, How to Make Your Money Last. Thanks for joining me today. This episode is going to be good. This is one topic that I've been getting a lot of questions on over the past month or so. This is in regards to withdrawals or income planning in retirement. And quite simply, where does your income or your money come from in retirement? Maybe it's Social Security, maybe it's pension income. And then a lot of times people will have part-time income. And then lastly, they will have their investment income. So what we mean by that is you're taking draws out of your retirement nest egg, and maybe it's multiple accounts, maybe it's 401k or a Roth IRA, maybe it's a brokerage account. But as far as these different sources of retirement income, there's planning and there's a thought process that should go into, hey, when do I claim my Social Security benefit? What about my spouse? How do I claim it? Do we delay one, delay both, or take them right away? Pension. Well, do you take a lump sum pension if it's available to you? Do you do 100% joint and survivor? A 50% joint and survivor? There's options with a pension, and you've got to determine which choice is going to be best for you. Certainly with part-time income, you're able to control how much money you make. And then lastly, as far as your personal savings or investment income and taking draws out of these different accounts that you may have saved for retirement, you get to determine how much or how little you take, and also whether you withhold taxes or not. Are you taking it on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, a semi-annual, or all at once in a lump sum? You also have choices of, hey, which accounts do we take from? Are we drawing out of the Roth IRA? Are we drawing out of the pre-tax 401k? How about your brokerage account? Maybe it makes sense to take out a little of each account. So we're going to talk about this topic on today's episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast. If you're a new listener, hey, thanks for listening. Welcome. A lot of people know they can check out our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. New for 2025, we have our tax planning guide, which you can download for free. We also have our 2025 market outlook from LPL Financial that was just released about a month ago. A lot of people have already downloaded that, listeners of the podcast. And then finally, we have our retirement budgeting tool. This tool will add everything up for you and help calculate, hey, how much are you going to spend month in and month out in retirement? So all of those are there on the website under the resources tab. And then coming up shortly, we're going to be rolling out our women's guide to retirement. And we're also going to be rolling out a Social Security guide that's very, very helpful when it comes to understanding Social Security and really the choices that go with that. Those are actually being reviewed by compliance, and we're putting the final touches on those for a release here shortly. So check back. And of course, everything on our website under the resources tab is totally free. I'm not trying to nickel and dime people for resources that we put time into. We use them for our clients because we specialize in working with people 50 and over as they try to plan for a successful retirement. So the tools that we use, many of them, not everything, I'm not going to put all of our secrets out there, but many of them we'll just include on our website that others can download and benefit from. And then finally, if you're one of those people that is looking to talk to a retirement planner, we have a section on our website that says work with us, and you can fill out a form. We'll contact you and start talking about your situation, your goals for retirement, and see if we can come up with a strategy to help you get there. So let's jump into this topic about income planning in retirement. And really, it comes down to withdrawal strategies. And the thought process here is, okay, we've got this pot of money. We've got, let's say it's multiple accounts in this pot. So it might be a 401k, a Roth IRA, maybe you have a brokerage account or an IRA from an old job. And the thought process here is, we've got these different accounts, or maybe it's a single account. This money is earmarked for retirement. And the idea here is we're going to take an income, we're going to take withdrawals out of these retirement accounts. And hopefully the money continues to grow more than our withdrawals over time on average. So we don't ever run the risk of running out of money. Because obviously, if you're withdrawing more than the money is growing every year, then the bucket of money is shrinking. And then, if you live long enough, then you have a real risk of depleting the bucket and running out of money. And that can be very, very emotional for people. It can be very scary because let's just think about that. Let's say you're in retirement, you're living on a small pension check, a Social Security check, and your personal savings. And let's say you're withdrawing a couple $1,000s, a few $1,000s out of your retirement accounts, and that supplements your other income. Well, what if that bucket of money, that retirement nest egg, what if it was depleted to the point where now you can't take any withdrawals out of it? Quite simply, you would need to live on your Social Security and pension checks that came in once a month. And the question is, how would you be able to live or survive or maintain your lifestyle? And many people would say, gosh, I can't make it just on Social Security and a small pension check. Maybe if it's big enough, maybe you've got a big pension, maybe you could, and you're not in that camp. So that's really what you've got to ask yourself is, okay, if my retirement accounts went away, what would that do to my overall retirement income? Could I make it on the fixed sources like Social Security and a pension, or would I need to go back to work and find part-time income to supplement those two different checks? So really this discussion is, how do you go about taking those withdrawals? When do you start taking withdrawals out of your retirement accounts, again, to live on and enjoy? And of course, you want to do so in the most tax-efficient manner possible. I'll tell you one example. We met with a gentleman this past year in 2024, and the way he was taking withdrawals out of his different buckets, he had a Roth IRA, he had a brokerage account, he had 3 different 401ks. And he was just selling funds in his 401k, just taking lump sum amounts like, hey, I'm going to go on a trip here and I'm going to do this. And he was just spending all of the pre-tax dollars out of that 401k. And it was not a really well thought out strategy. There was nothing set up like on an automatic or regular basis. It was like he was taking withdrawals just as he needed things. And there was no rationale behind, okay, if you're going to sell things in your retirement account, investments, which investments do you sell or liquidate to raise that money that you're going to be spending? And looking at his portfolio of investments, the withdrawals that he was taking from a certain 401k account, that account was not set up for withdrawals. In other words, the goal of that account, as far as an objective, was not to produce an income that he was really relying on. So it was not geared towards like dividends and interest and that stuff. It was more just geared towards long-term growth. And with this particular gentleman, as we looked at his tax return, we said, gosh, with the way you were spending in the different accounts that you had, there's a lot better way that you could have had an income strategy set up. In other words, instead of just selling things out of your 401k and neglecting the other accounts and not taking withdrawals out of his Roth IRA and brokerage account, really, he paid $4,000 more in taxes than he needed to. Essentially, he found himself in a higher tax bracket, which caused his Social Security to be more taxable. So if you learn nothing else from this episode, realize that if you have these different retirement accounts, you can control the taxes that you pay because you get to decide which withdrawals and how much come out of each account. In other words, how much money you're going to draw out of your Roth IRA this year, how much money is going to come out of your 401k this year, how much money you're going to draw out of your brokerage account this year, because all of those decisions really determine how much taxes you're going to pay, not only on those withdrawals themselves, but also on maybe Social Security income. Now, when you start taking withdrawals out of retirement accounts, as I previously mentioned, it can kind of make some people uneasy. So let's just assume we've got a 62-year-old couple and they start taking withdrawals out of a 401k, and they had been saving in that 401k 15% of their salaries. That just became a habit. The money just came right out of their paycheck, went in the 401k, they got a match, their employer put a match in the 401k, the money was invested, and gosh, they got to witness those accounts grow and evolve over time, and they just continuously saved and saved and saved every paycheck. Now flip the switch into retirement. Now you have to start drawing money out every month, or you say, hey, I want to check on the 1st, so I'm going to set up a withdrawal on the 1st and the 15th of every month. So it was like I was paid on the 1st and 15th of every month, and that continues. But what I've really found over the last few years is some people are afraid to spend once they get into retirement because, again, they have this habit, which has taken a lot of discipline of, hey, I'm going to save 10% for retirement every year or 15% for retirement. And it has been like that year in and year out. And they've been committed to saving and the sacrifice that goes into that and living on less than their means. When you flip the switch and now you're in retirement and you're spending, and now they're saying, okay, maybe they're starting to see that 401k balance, their IRA or Roth IRA balance go down. It doesn't sit well with them. It makes people uncomfortable because this is something that represents change. And what I have found is meeting with a lot of different people, we typically work with women and couples that are 50 and over planning for retirement, is they almost need reassurance that, hey, I'm okay doing this. I'm okay spending this money that I have earmarked for retirement. Please tell me I'm going to be okay. And we've had many people tell us, hey, please tell me if you think we're starting to spend too much. We've even had people that were afraid to start these withdrawals, these twice a month or once a month withdrawals, just because they weren't ready for it. Maybe it was too much of a drastic change. And we've even had people say that, hey, they'd rather start their Social Security earlier if it meant that they could delay withdrawals out of their retirement accounts, simply because the feeling that they got by withdrawing out of their life savings it wasn't pleasant. So I just wanted to mention that there is an emotional, a psychological aspect to this whole thing, and how you react to it is going to be different than somebody else. Some people are very receptive to spending down their retirement nest egg. So I wanted to shift gears and I wanted to talk about the bucket strategy. And this is episode number 72. We actually replayed this from episode number 24. We will include a link in the show notes where you can listen to that episode. It's one of the most downloaded episodes that we've ever done. And this is episode number 180. So if that tells you anything. So I'm going to once again explain the bucket strategy, why we like it, why we use it with our clients. There's a lot of simplicity to it, and it seems to make sense. People have confidence in something when they understand the strategy. It's like a general. And some of the best generals out there, if you kind of look back on history, and all the history buffs out there will know, some of the best generals out there were the best leaders. They had great communication skills. They could get a lot of buy-in because they had so much confidence in the strategy that they developed, and they could present it very simply. So everybody understood. And then that gave confidence to everybody else, and they could carry out the missions. So my advice for you, whatever withdrawal strategy that you believe in, make sure it's simple and make sure it's crafted in a way that's going to give you confidence. Because throughout your retirement journey, there's going to be bumps in the road. You're going to need to refer back to that original retirement income plan, and maybe you need to make some adjustments along the way, which is okay. But the original strategy has to be sound, and you cannot waver. So I know we have a lot of new listeners, so let's just recap the bucket strategy. 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 is your emergency fund bucket, or some very short-term expense money. In other words, if someone tells me, hey, we got a wedding, my daughter's getting married in 6 months, well, guess what? That's not going to be your emergency fund. We're not going to spend your entire emergency fund. We are going to have funds that are set aside, that are earmarked for that wedding. And if it's $30,000, great. Those funds are carved off. So in 6 months, when that wedding bill comes, the money's there. Now, bucket number 1 is your emergency fund. We like to see this in, of course, something that's liquid. And what we mean by liquid is something that is accessible. You can get to it at any time. And the money is safe and protected. And most people have emergency funds, as you can imagine, at a credit union, at a bank. The money is protected. How much money you keep in your emergency fund is up to you and your situation. As a rule of thumb, 6 months to 12 months is what we go off of. Now, we have some clients that may have more than 6 to 12 months of living expenses, but generally speaking, that is a good amount to kind of shoot for. What could the money be used for? Well, if you needed a new set of tires, what if you needed a new HVAC system for your house, a new water heater? Just big expenses like that pop up. A lot of times it's going to be for vehicle maintenance or home maintenance. And the whole idea with bucket number 1, which is your emergency fund, is we want to see it's the appropriate amount for you, whether that's 6 months, 12 months of living expenses or more, and that the money is accessible and safe. I have met people over the years that have their emergency fund in an inappropriate investment or place. Maybe it's in a very volatile stock. I've had people tell me, oh, the cash value of my life insurance policy is used for my emergency fund. That's not appropriate, in my opinion. So really, the emergency fund, the purpose of it is not to have a great return. Again, this is only 6 to 12 months, maybe a little bit more of living expenses. The purpose is to be there in case of emergencies if you need it. If you can make a little interest on it, high yield checking, high yield savings, or money market, great. That's just a bonus, in my opinion. And bucket number 2 is, okay, this is your income bucket. So if we're taking a withdrawal out of this bucket, the purpose of the bucket is to provide income, dividends, interest, because we're going to be relying on bucket number 2 for income. And let's say we're going to take monthly draws out of this to supplement your Social Security income. Great. So this income, it needs to be reliable and consistent. Now, then the question comes, okay, I've got these different accounts. what accounts do I put in bucket number 2 to draw that income off of? And then the next question that follows up with that is to say, hey, what investments do I put in those different accounts to provide that income, the dividends, the interest, the income that I'm going to be withdrawing? I need those investments to be geared to really produce that income. What investments should I really pick? So first off, let's start with the different types of accounts. As you come up with your own retirement income strategy, you have to decide, okay, in bucket number 2, which is the income bucket, am I going to be drawing off of my pre-tax 401k or traditional IRAs? Or am I going to have Roth IRAs that I can draw off of tax-free in retirement? Are they going to be a part of bucket number 2? Or am I going to have a brokerage account in bucket number 2 that I can also take withdrawals off of, and some of that money will likely be taxable, and maybe none of it would be taxable depending on your tax situation and how the money's invested. So really the decision here is, okay, which accounts, again, go in bucket number 2? Am I going to put my 401k? And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It might be, okay, I'm going to put part of my 401k in bucket number 2, which is my income bucket, and I'm going to start monthly or maybe semi-monthly withdrawals. How much of your Roth IRA, how much of your brokerage account would go in bucket number 2? That's really going to be dependent on, number one, your situation, but also how much income you need. Another way of saying that is the more income that you need on a monthly basis, the more of your nest egg we're going to need to allocate towards bucket number 2 to produce that income. If you need very, very little income to supplement your Social Security, then maybe you don't have to put that much in bucket number 2 to draw an income off of. Maybe the rest of it can go into bucket number 3, which is our growth bucket, and we'll get into that in a minute. But before I jump to bucket number 3, which is our growth bucket, a lot of people just want a quick fix. I've had so many people email me or call me and say, hey, just tell me real quick, if you were me, what would you put in bucket number 2 if I'm going to need an income? Just tell me exactly what I need to put as far as investments in those different accounts. What do I need to buy? What investments? What's going to produce an income for me? The first step, what we do, I'll just tell you exactly what we do at our firm, is we try to get a gauge of your risk score. So 0 to 100, what is your appetite for risk? So if you had 100 risk tolerance, a risk score, that tells us you have a huge appetite for risk. You can really stomach the ups and downs. And on the flip side, let's take another person. Let's say we have someone that's named Cindy, and Cindy comes in and her risk score is like a middle of the road, a 50 risk score. She doesn't have the appetite for risk. She cannot handle the ups and downs like you with the risk score of 100. And therefore, the investments we would recommend for bucket number 2, our income bucket, are going to be much different for you than they would be for Cindy with a middle of the road, moderate risk appetite of 50 risk score. And I hope that makes sense. I think a cookie cutter approach of saying, okay, if you're 65 and retired, you should be invested like this, that is dangerous. And that leads to a lot of mistakes and bad results for people because it does not take into account, number one, your risk and your appetite for risk, because we're all individuals. We don't all drive the same car. We don't all wear the same size shoe. We don't all wear the same clothes. That's like saying, okay, every 65-year-old woman should wear these shoes and dress like this. That just doesn't work because we're all individuals. We all have our unique goals, and what one person wants from retirement might be drastically different than another person. So getting back, again, risk score will dictate what investments go in bucket number 2 to provide that income. And that income a lot of times is dividend, interest income, but also how much income you need and how frequently you're looking for that income. Those are important factors that go into that decision of what investments are appropriate to put into what accounts in bucket number 2. So again, we'll summarize here. Bucket number 1, you've got your emergency fund, 6 to 12 months, and that's a rule of thumb, might be more. You've got your income bucket. So this is maybe one account or multiple accounts pre-tax Roth IRA, or maybe it's a taxable brokerage account that you're setting up monthly, maybe every 2 weeks, you're taking withdrawals. You have investments that are appropriate, that are delivering that income on a regular basis. And that income is going to supplement maybe Social Security or pension income. And that's what you live on. What about bucket number 3? What if you put enough money to provide that income in bucket number 2 on a regular basis, and you still have a couple $100,000 left over? How do you invest that money? Well, then we would recommend putting that in bucket number 3, which we call the growth bucket. Now, most often, the Roth IRA would go in bucket number 3. That's not always the case, but most often. As our listeners know, Roth IRAs grow tax-free for the rest of your life. We also know, and we're big believers, that the cost of living will continue to increase throughout your retirement lifetime. Every year, everything you buy will cost more. So with your retirement income plan, you need to set the expectation that, hey, what you're living on today might be different 5 years from now into retirement or 10 years from now, just because your costs will likely have gone up. And you can use an assumption of what you think the cost of living will be, 2, 3, 4% per year. And a lot of people say, well, gosh, we want bucket number 3 to far exceed the cost of living increases. And we know that, hey, this is likely going to be a 30-year retirement. So we need to have the funds that are put in bucket number 3 to have a more growth orientation. We don't need income from bucket number 3 today. So bucket number 3 has a different job. It's more, hey, money that we're going to probably utilize maybe in year 10 of retirement or thereafter. So we've given bucket number 3 its own job, its own purpose, and therefore we can make decisions based off of this strategy. And the last thing I'll mention about this whole idea of the bucket strategy is you have to, well, you don't have to, you can do whatever you want, but I think you would be better off if you looked at it through the lens of tax planning as well. What I mean by that is the income that you draw off of bucket number 2 needs to be set up in a way where you're not giving a tip to Uncle Sam. You're really trying to be cognizant of keeping your taxes low, not only this year, but throughout retirement. And I think one of the things that's on a lot of people's minds is, okay, I've got this nest egg, which may be one retirement account, maybe just a 401k. It may be a collection of different investment accounts or retirement accounts. How do they all fit into like a bucket strategy? How much do I need to have saved to put into bucket number 2? And then how much would be left to put in bucket number 3? And at our firm, we meet people that we say, hey, gosh, you don't have enough saved to put into bucket number 2 to provide the income that you need. And therefore, you need to keep saving more. You need to work longer. But we can give an estimate of, okay, with a little planning, we can do a retirement plan for people to show them exactly, hey, this is how much money you need to have in buckets 1, 2, and 3 to be able to comfortably retire with some reasonable assumptions. If you're not confident that you have enough saved to be able to retire, to afford to retire, I would encourage you to reach out to us. Again, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. We'll help you with that to provide the answers you're looking for. And the way we do it is through a holistic retirement plan that tries to look at everything from not only the buckets, but also, again, taxes, Social Security, to say, okay, where do you stand here? But again, there's a ton of other firms that try to do something similar to say, okay, in your case, what does a withdrawal strategy look like? And how do we make sure that you have the highest probability of success in retirement? And I'll say this, we meet with a lot of people that maybe have a 401k and they have a target date fund, retirement target date 2025 or target retirement date 2030. And we ask them, okay, when it comes time to retire, how are you going to start accessing this 401k and start monthly withdrawals? Some people will say, we'll leave it in the 2025 retirement target date fund, and that should just get us by, won't it? And the answer to that is, well, it might. And you're really just scratching the surface by saying, okay, I'm just going to start monthly withdrawals out of this mutual fund or target retirement fund and hope that the money lasts, hope and pray the money lasts. I would strongly encourage you to take it a step further. and to get a retirement income plan done so you can have the confidence to say, okay, we've got a strategy here. We know where our income is coming from. We know how long it's projected to last. We know what our taxes are going to be once we enter retirement and throughout retirement, what they're projected to be, and which accounts we're going to spend through first. I hope today's discussion has been helpful. Again, if you have questions, and thank you to all the listeners that have been submitting their questions at our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. Continue to reach out. I'll see you next time. And remember, always dream big.
Content in this material is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. The content in this material does not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific situation. Your results will vary. The hypothetical rates of return used do not reflect the deduction of fees and charges inherent to investing. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments might be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, tax advisor, or financial planner prior to investing. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices mentioned are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance your overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect completely against market risk. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a required minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific tax issues with a qualified tax advisor. Fixed and variable annuities are suitable for long-term investing, such as retirement investing. Gains from tax-deferred investments are taxed as ordinary income upon withdrawal. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals made prior to age 59 and a half are subject to a 10% IRS penalty tax, and surrender charges may apply. Variable annuities are subject to market risk and may lose value. Riders are additional guarantee options that are available to an annuity or life insurance contract holder. While some riders are part of an existing contract, many others may carry additional fees, charges, and restrictions, and the policyholder should review their contract before purchasing. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a required minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. This information is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized tax advice. We suggest that you discuss your specific tax issues with a qualified tax advisor. Retire Strong Financial Advisors and LPL Financial are not endorsed by or affiliated with the United States Social Security Administration or any government agency. Retire Strong Financial Advisors and LPL Financial are not endorsed by or affiliated with the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services or any government agency.
Thank you for listening to the show today. Check us out at our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. And if you want some help from Greg, submit your questions at the bottom of the page or sign up for a 30-minute retirement coaching session with Greg. We'll see you next week.